All right, good. Well, good morning. See, we've got a quorum, so we'll go ahead and start the Small Business Development Committee meeting. Today, we've got a great program. But before we get started, Ms. Lisa, I would like for you to open us up in prayer. Thank you. What number?
There you go.
Got it. Amen. Thank you, Ms. Lisa. Thank you very much. Well, good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate y'all being here virtually and in person. Oh, we got a couple more walking in. Good. Today is going to be on small business in the entertainment field. And it is my pleasure and honor to introduce Miss Kelsey Moore. She's going to open us up with a little preview of what we've got coming. And she is the executive director of the Georgia Screen Entertainment Coalition. And I had the pleasure of meeting with her last week and appreciate what the folks that she represents and how they've revitalized certain areas and been a huge economic stimulus to the state of Georgia. So with that, Ms. Kelsey, the microphone is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and to the committee for having me here today. My name is Kelsey Moore. I'm the executive director of the Georgia Screen Entertainment Coalition, and we represent the full ecosystem of the film industry in Georgia. So studios, crew, businesses that create the infrastructure, educational institutions, and film commissions across the state. So I was very excited that the Small Business Committee chose to take a look at the film industry today, because the small businesses are really what makes up the backbone of this industry. It is the infrastructure, and our growth as this kind of globally leading production hub does relate directly to these businesses that are here. So you may have heard it said that there's a job for everyone on a film set, and that's true. I was down at a studio south of the city last week, I think it was, and by 9 a.m. when I got there, 4,000 people had already badged onto the lot, and more than 85% of those are Georgians. And in that same vein, there is a job for any business in the film industry. From lumber companies and hardware companies that build the sets, we've got recycling companies that then take away the sets when they're done. We've got interior designers and prop houses that dress the sets, and then the bevy of businesses that feed, clothe, hair, makeup, house all of the people that are actually working on this set. So, not to mention then also the studios that house the actual filming and the equipment providers, all based in Georgia, that make all of this possible. Georgia is home to more than 3,000 motion picture and television businesses, and 1,900 of those are production-related companies directly. But even those companies those numbers don't fully kind of show the companies that are involved, the restaurants, the plant nurseries that really have made these investments into growing their businesses, creating new revenue streams and products for this clientele. So in 2020, Georgia, we were on track for the best year for film ever. And then obviously COVID hit and it stopped all of that activity, just completely stopped it. And so while, our state leaders and you all were focused on how to keep Georgia out of this kind of pandemic related recession, a lot of the businesses in the film industry, like other businesses, were just trying to figure out how to keep their doors open and how to pay their employees. So I think it was also at this time that we saw how important the film industry was to Georgia small businesses. Governor Kemp announced in June 2020 that the film industry was poised to kind of help Georgia recover from this pandemic-related recession, hiring 40,000 workers on 75 productions over the next 18 months. And so those productions also spent $2 billion in Georgia over 18 months with 17,000 Georgia businesses. So, I think that as we kind of we're sitting here at 2020, or 2022, we're gonna have a really good problem. Revenues are up, we're at a surplus. And I think that Georgia's small businesses have a lot riding on this industry. They've made, a lot of investments in this, and their investments, their private non-incentivized investments to grow their businesses here, are directly mirroring the smart investment that the state legislature made with the film tax incentive. So, the stability of the industry is critically important to these thousands of businesses across the state. And, we are poised to just continue to grow. And with that, all of the small businesses across the state that do that. So you get to hear from a couple of those today, but on behalf of the, again, thousands that, are running their restaurants or tending to their nurseries, thank you for your time today, your leadership, and your interest in Georgia's film industry. I'll pause to see if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, Kelsey, if you don't mind, you have one question.
Yeah, I've got a question. Good morning.
Good morning.
How many of these, so it's 3,000 and 1,900, a subset of that. Within that group, how many of those are kind of new start, or you may not even have this data, but are new startups versus transplants that are coming in from other places? And is there a particular area or state that a lot of them are moving from, or is it just kind of across the board? I'm not sure if you have a pulse on that part of it, but it'd be interesting to know.
Sure. Well, I don't have exact, obviously, numbers. I could certainly kind of pull some historical data. We know that we've seen an incredible uptick in the businesses. I think you see some that are legacy businesses. I mean, some we'll hear from today that have been here, for 30 years doing this. But others, I mean, certainly are new, whether they've kind of grown out of, whether it's a restaurant that then grew to a catering company, or if they've decided to move here and capitalize on all the production that's happened. So I'd say it's probably a mix of both, but I don't have, specific numbers for you on that.
Number 18. All right, I don't think I'm on, but that's okay. The elephant in the room as it relates to the movie industry, especially where I'm down in rural South Florida, they're not filming movies in Coffee County, Douglas, Georgia. But those taxpayers are on the hook to invest hundreds of millions of dollars into making the movie industry more fun and more appealing to people to locate. With over 20 years of conservative limited government and conservative taxation, conservative appropriations, we have been able to offer tax incentives to industries like the movie industry, but can't really seem to get our arms around that population of people to get them to support us politically. So I wonder if we're not sort of contributing to our own demise, if that's the right way to say it. And I don't know any other way to say it. Certainly appreciate you being here and appreciate the small businesses. We like the fact that the movie industry shines a bright spotlight on what our state has to offer, because what it really boils down to is we have to offer really good people on a place that is beautiful in this country. You can go to the mountains of the north, the coast to the southeast, and the wiregrass areas of central and southwest Georgia. But that's something that we need to be honest about. My folks don't really benefit much from the movie industry because of the little part of the state that we're from. So that's been a question that I've gotten in my area. Why do we incentivize an industry that most of that population of people don't support us and our values and what we believe? And I think it's worth talking about.
Sure, and thank you for your comments. I think that Georgia's film industry, while in the early years have very much been centered around Metro Atlanta, we're seeing considerable growth. One of the speakers we'll hear from today is from Thomasville, and having a production in Thomasville stretches into Tifton, into Albany, into Douglas County. And so, I think we're seeing major investments from our school systems, though, too, that meet the demand of the sorts of jobs that our students today want. Sorry. So, across the state, I believe from every county, the Georgia Film Academy has, I believe, had 10,000 graduates since the inception of their program, which has just been a couple of years. So I do think that, as this industry grows, we have the opportunity to tell our stories. I mean, we're Georgians, we're Southerners, we all have big stories. We're not going to let truth get in the way of a good story. So I think that we're growing in that way. I think that some of the businesses and your constituents will start to see kind of ways that economic impact does benefit them.
Let me interject as well. Kelsey, thank you. You just brought it to everyone's attention how the industry is expanding all over the state. And one of the presenters is Thomasville, South Georgia, my part of the country. And as we got another presenter from Rome, Georgia. And then I appreciate the fact that you mentioned the Film Academy, because I've been serving on higher education throughout my career here at the legislature. And we're training these students to find careers in the industry, and many times they go home. And with the ability to virtually meet as we're doing today, they can live in all parts of the state and be productive members of that of their community. And many times they can live where they grew up. So we're not in as much bringing in as many new people, maybe for some skills that we don't have yet, but we're growing our own. And for that, I want to thank you and thank the industry. Kelsey, I'm going to ask you to do me another favor.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be kind enough to introduce the presenters? And I think Jim Hanna, are you here? Yeah, fantastic.
There we go.
Good, and he can share the stage, or if you want to get the microphone at the podium,
Sure,
whatever you're comfortable with,
I'll
Mr.
let you
Hanna.
come on this way. And by way of introduction, Jim Hanna with Hanna Brothers Catering out of Fayetteville, Georgia.
Hey, good morning. Are we set?
Good morning. Go ahead. I'll
Whatever's
let
comfortable.
you good.
Okay. Hey, good morning. Appreciate y'all having me today, and appreciate Chairman Chokas, your support of the film industry and just film in general in the state of Georgia. It's been a catalyst for my company personally, and I thank you. A little bit about myself. My company is called Hanna Brothers Film and Event Catering Company, and we started in 1997, and we've been working on films since then with over 300 credits to our company's name. We first opened an office in 2004 in Slidell, Louisiana, just outside of New Orleans. And we did that to capitalize on the incentive structure that they have in place for films, because we knew that would bring a lot of film work, and it did. We had the good luck of opening our business, and then Katrina rolled in and closed our business. So that happened in our first year, and I lived in my kitchen for about 6 months as we rebuilt. But fast forward to about 2010, 2011, and we were doing a lot of work in Georgia, but we didn't have a brick and mortar building here. But we, sure.
Mr. Hanna, could I interrupt? We've got a technical problem
Okay.
with a microphone, so we're going to just pause for about so quite appropriate, quite appropriate with today's topic. As we take a break, I've got a question. Where are you from, sir?
I grew up in South Florida.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's changed a lot over the years.
Tremendously. I don't even recognize it when I go home.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so my father's family's still down there. My mother. Like a lot of folks, we were a bit of a no.
difficulties corrected.
All right.
So please continue.
Happy to. So we worked in Louisiana from about 2004. 2010, we started getting more and more work in the state of Georgia, but we didn't have a brick and mortar building here. So we started putting out feelers, if you will, about where we might land and what's going on here. And we were introduced to the people that were in the early stages of Pinewood Atlanta Studios. And they did not have a catering company that they were connected to at that time. And we were still looking for a home. So fast forward a couple of years later, and we ended up leasing space at what is now called Trilith Studios. And we've been there since late 2013, early 2014. We were one of their first tenants, I do believe. So that has been our home base in Georgia. And in addition to working on films, we have seen a need and tried to fill a need. So we operate the restaurant there at the Trilla Studios called the Studio Cafe, which is open to the general population. We also do corporate meals to corporations in downtown Atlanta and the surrounding area. We do that by way of prepackaged meals that we make in our commissary kitchen, and we deliver them. Kind of think of Grubhub on steroids, if you will. So we make, thousands of meals. We put them in insulated containers, put them in hot boxes to keep the integrity safe, and then we transport them up to wherever they're going, and then they're brought into the corporations, and then folks can have a nice lunch that's made by chefs in our kitchen. In addition to that, we have a line of products called we call them quick takes, and it's a little play on the film industry there, but it's soup, salads, sandwiches that also we deliver to what's called micro markets around downtown Atlanta. So break rooms that are sort of high-end break rooms will have some of our products in them. And then lastly, because what we do requires a lot of mobile equipment, we've been able to help some folks in times of need. EMC has used us after some bad storms. We helped with some folks in Noonan after the tornadoes last year. Because we're very mobile, we can transport food and be at the ready at a moment's notice. So that's been good to us. And then we do stuff outside of the state related to that as well. But it's been a big driver for some of our spike years in revenue. So we're real appreciative of that. One of the things that Kelsey mentioned that I probably should touch on was COVID and sort of how COVID affected us. So like everybody in the film industry, about March of, I guess it was it 19? 20, 19, or March of 20, I had 7 films going at one time. COVID hits, and a week later, I have 0 films going at one time. The restaurant, of course, nobody would touch a restaurant at that time. And my revenue went from here to here, like in a week. And, we didn't really know what to do, but we kept coming to work. We retained our managers. We started to innovate. That was where we came up with our prepackaged meals, where the meals are made in a sanitary environment. All the employees go through our pre-screenings. All the employees, if they exhibit any symptoms, they don't come in. So we're taking every safety measure we can. And a lot of businesses were looking for that. They're like, how do we feed our people? So we innovated, and that has been a catalyst for us. We also were able to pick up some work down at Fort Benning, where we fed soldiers that would kind of come in to a small city as they tried to go through clearances to be released into the rest of the base. So we were feeding roughly 800 to 1,000 soldiers a day. And we did that for 6 months. And that really helped carry us over. Coupled with the PPP loans that were out there, we were lucky and fortunate enough to be able to get that, and that really helped us a lot. So thank you for that as well, for all the small businesses around. I think that was a savior for many of us, ourselves included. So we did innovate out of COVID. It's been a good thing for us in the long run here, because we've got a whole line of products that we probably wouldn't have thought about had we not done it. Our company has gone from probably 30 employees when we first came to Georgia to now we employ about 140 people full time. And what's neat about us is that we're not just dependent upon the film industry. And I think there's a lot of my colleagues in the film industry are probably doing something similar, where your bread and butter is the film industry, but you also know, if you've been in this industry long enough, that if you want to call somewhere home and stay there, that you have to figure out other ways to make a living if in fact the industry were to dry up. So we've done that in the form of corporate catering, in the form of quick takes and the disaster relief in the restaurant. So we're quite diversified at this point, but still film is still our bread and butter, and we don't want it to go anywhere. So I would encourage you guys to continue, doing what you're doing and support the industry. Myself, as well as all these other small businesses in the film industry. We've been able to come here. We've moved our families. We've built infrastructure. We've spent money in the state of Georgia. I have 3 kids. They all go to school here. I plan on them calling Georgia home for as long as they want to call it home. I'm very active in my church. It's a great place to live. I tell you what, the contrast from Louisiana to Georgia, as far as workforce, in my opinion, was tremendous. I came here, and the people here were hungry to work. They were good folks, good schooling, just lined up with our corporate values much better than the folks did in Louisiana. And as a result, our workforce has flourished, and I employ many Georgians. So appreciate what you're doing. And,
Cool.
I'm not sure what else you want me to add, but.
Well, no, we've got a couple of questions, if that's
Yeah.
okay, Mr.
Yeah, sure.
Hammond. Number 26.
That was me. Thank you so much for coming and presenting. I've got kind of 2 questions. One, it sounds like your business market is you've got a public part of it, and then you've got some outline contracts that you do with some other businesses, and then you do a lot of philanthropy. That's great as well. But it sounds like, do you contract with the film like through the entirety of the production? Is that the way that model works? And then I got one more question at the end. How has the state of Georgia helped you? What kind of things have been done, outside of maybe the normal scope of what any small business might take advantage of? Those would be some good topics.
Yeah,
I'd like to
I'm
hear.
going to answer the second one first. How
Okay.
the state of Georgia has helped me. The state of Georgia has helped me because the incentives are in place to bring productions here, specifically around films. Without those credits, I don't know what the number would be, but I would guess it'd be, a fraction of what it currently is, 10-20%, and without those incentives, I wouldn't have moved my family here. We wouldn't be in school here, and we wouldn't be employing 140 Georgians here. And that because there's other states stepping up to do it. And you guys have been, the leader really with regard to incentives. And as a result, I'm just a little guy in this, but the big guys, Disney, Apple, Warner Brothers, Hulu, they've noticed. They're here. They're working. I have the privilege of leasing space at Gsb Studios, and occasionally I get to see a glimpse of the future over there. And they've got some really big tenants, what I would call the majors, that are going to be leasing space there year round, and not just working there during the actual filming of the movie, but they're going to be there during the prep, during the wrap, editing, creating there. So the more we pour into this infrastructure, the more people come here and call it home, the more it's not going to just be a one-stop shop and then you go back to Los Angeles and you live. And the incentive has been in place for a while now, and as a result, not just me, I could ramble off 10 other small vendors like myself that have now called Georgia home, and they've moved their offices here as a result of these incentives. So to answer your question, that's what the state's done right. I think also the Film Academy is a catalyst for the future, and a great way to plant some roots in the industry, if you will. And then to answer your first question, but I'm going to answer it secondly. We work with film productions basically from the time they have a production office until the time they close that production office. So there's two phases. There's sort of a prep phase where there's a smaller crew and they're hiring the various different departments. So you come in, you maybe got 5 people in an office, and then the next week there's 10 people in the office, and the next week there's 20 or 30 or 40. During that phase, we're doing our prepackaged meals and we're delivering them right to the production office. And then they shift to the actual filming phase. And during the filming phase, I've got a mobile kitchen and a crew that follows the mini circus, if you will. And we move around to the different locations and serve food, and they get the shots they need to get. And then they go back, and then once they wrap filming they go back to the office and basically transition out. So it's sort of like a bell-shaped curve. Yeah.
Super. We've got one more question, but we've got several more presenters, so let's be conscious of the time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being with us today. And sounds like COVID was difficult for you guys, but you've overcome that, and hopefully the state and the whole country is getting on the other side of that. Tell me, you talked about the good things that Georgia has done, but tell me about maybe some of the impediments or some of the challenges that you have in operating your business in the state of Georgia and things that we might do to improve that.
Well, when we first got here, one of the things that I wasn't expecting, and we just kind of had to deal with it, was I had an existing business in Louisiana, and then a lot of that business was mobile. And at that point, I probably had 30 different pieces of equipment, from mobile kitchens to box trucks to refrigerated trucks. So when we moved to Georgia, I thought I could just drive the stuff here and register it in the state of Georgia, but you do that, but you also have to pay a tax on it. So I had already paid the tax in Louisiana, and then when I came to Georgia, I had to repay the tax again. So that was kind of a bummer and an out of the blue expense that I didn't know I was going to get hit with. So it was almost a disincentive to bring all my stuff from out of state into state that was mobile. Now, if I had a camera or something like that, that wouldn't apply, but mobile equipment, it does. So that would be one thing that maybe you guys could address. Other than that, it's good. It's good. You guys are doing a good job, and I appreciate it. This is a thriving community, and I'm hoping it's a boom for Georgia and the revenue, the tax dollars you guys get to accumulate as a result of the industry being here. But it's also a boom for the people that live here, because these are good jobs. A lot of them are union jobs. A lot of them are high paying jobs, and the unions also have incentives that they couple with those jobs, health and pension and welfare. So it's good.
Thank you.
Very good. I would be remiss, since this is small business development, if you didn't give us the name of your restaurant that's open to the public
Okay,
and the hours of
Cafe.
operation.
Yeah, Studio Cafe, and we do lunch Tuesday through Saturday, and we do a dinner on Friday and Saturday night. That's surf and turf, and we have a live piano player typically on Friday and Saturday nights.
Cool. Studio
Nice
Cafe.
date night. Yes, sir.
And that's down in Fayetteville.
Yeah, at Trillis Studios. Yes, sir. The Studio Cafe.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Hanna, thank you very much. Congratulations on your success, and we greatly appreciate you being here.
Yeah,
Thank you
I
very much.
appreciate y'all listening to me and letting me share my journey.
Cool.
Thank you.
Cool. And now, Kelsey, do you want to say a little bit about Ryan Smith and Laura Lee Derby? They're going to be here virtually.
Sure. And thank you, Jim. I personally can attest that the food is delicious and the people are very friendly. So if anyone wants to hop on board, we'll head down there again soon. We were there last week. So yeah, I'm excited to present or to switch to Alan Cheney and Ryan Smith. They're joining us virtually from Thomasville. They are the Thomasville natives and founders of Thomasville Pictures.
Hey guys, can you hear us okay?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Are we on? All right.
Perfect. You can hear us, all right?
A little bit louder, yeah. There we go.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. I'm going to let Alan jump in and give the genesis and kind of background of Thomasville Pictures for us as we get going, and then I'll jump into a little bit of the logistics and specifics of our team.
Hi, I'm Alan, and like Ryan said, we started Thomasville Pictures together a few years ago. I'm born and raised in Thomasville. I'm 3 generations deep. And after living in Los Angeles for a few years, pursuing the film industry, my career in it, then I sort of never dreamed that I'd end up back in Georgia doing what we're doing. We set out to do a film about 4 years ago, and we were looking at possibly doing it in Atlanta. And then we had an idea about what if we could try to bring it a little further south. When we ended up in Thomasville, it was kind of a journey to figure out what this would look like to do a film in a place where no one does film, or at the time didn't do film. And luckily, Thomasville and the surrounding area, Valdosta, Moultrie, Camilla, I mean, these are all really amazing towns with supportive people who are open to new ideas, and we were welcomed in. And we found ourselves in a position to sort of introduce something new to this part of the state that really, like I said, wasn't here. And over the last 3.5, 4 years, we have now done 5 productions. We've employed several hundred people on the local level. And I think we've sort of positioned ourselves to stick around for a while, and people are really seem to be enthusiastic about having us here. And actually, Ryan is not a native of Georgia. He's a Tennessean, but has actually become a Georgian now because of the film industry being down here and what we're trying to build. So would you like to take it over?
Yeah, and I'll jump in quickly. You know, as being from Tennessee and then going to Los Angeles and pursuing the film industry, it's been really exciting to see how Georgia deploys the ability to bring productions to this state. And when I was looking at building, you know, infrastructure and started producing and bringing and working on more and more projects, you know, originally I thought, well, let me see how I can do this in Nashville, in my hometown. And I'm actually on the board of Lipscomb University's film school there, and I speak on this a lot regarding Tennessee and what Tennessee can do to better serve the film industry. And what I want to say is Georgia has hit it out of the park. And so for us, we are here in Thomasville because of the film incentive, because that allows us to greenlight projects and bring projects down. So we that number has just jumped. We're in pre-production right now on 2 projects, which is why we couldn't be up there with you this morning. And so we're now the number is up to 6 projects that we've brought, and the number is roughly about $38 million in total budgets for those films, of which we expect a couple of million to absolutely trickle down into the local economy here. We have employed in the last 14 months close to 1,000 individuals on those projects. And one of our primary objectives being down in Thomasville is to embrace Southwest Georgia and to convert and to work with our local communities and local individuals to help bring them on and bring them into the film space. And whether they be carpenters or electricians or, excellent in construction, whatever it may be, our goal is to work with them and help them convert and come on board with us. And so we've done that quite a bit. And during the pandemic, one thing I'll say, yes, 2020 was a very difficult year for everyone. But one of the things that I'm most proud of and what we've done is 2021. And so we were able to begin a project in late January of 2021 and bring back crew members and bring back workers onto the film set and start spending money in Southwest Georgia. And some of the case studies that have come from that are the fact that we brought, when you do a film, it ranges in crew size, but you can expect between 75 and 250 people being employed based on the size of the film. But we started a film down here in early 2021. And so bringing workers back to work after having not had jobs is one of the most fulfilling things of my career. We continued that multiple times throughout 2021. And that's why I say I'm really, really excited about that number. But more than that, we're also developing kind of the industry and trying to use the resources that have benefited Atlanta so greatly, but also create new jobs and new incentive down here in Southwest Georgia. And so one example of that is with COVID, we have a local partner physician. And instead of bringing in an LA or a New York or, a medical team as the COVID protocols were put into place, we worked with the local physician here. And we worked with that physician's office to create a COVID department and a COVID team. And that specific office has now done projects, not just ours, all over the country, but mostly all over Georgia, up in Atlanta, in Savannah, and then they work on our films, and it has created an unbelievable revenue stream. And I think on their side, they have had a hiring frenzy. They have been able to bring in and train locals on the medical side, on the COVID team. Another thing is Thomasville is a small town, as are the surrounding towns. And so bringing in our crew, and let me talk about that for a second. When we're bringing crew down here right now, we're not bringing them from all over the country. We're actually bringing them from Atlanta. And so when we bring crew down, our productions are giving them a per diem, and they're going out into the local community and spending that per diem. It's about $65 a day in local restaurants, in stores and shops. And so, we have multiple restaurant owners here who have shared with us how impactful having these projects on the ground after, the pandemic was absolutely game changing, and helped them keep their doors open, because they worked with us to do to-go at night, in the mornings, whenever it may be. If we couldn't physically have people in a restaurant, then they would deliver to us. And not just our catering team, I'm talking 24 hours a day, meals around the clock, working with different partners. So we deploy, those funds into the restaurants. And then the last thing I'll say, and I'll pause, is we really are excited about the region, not just Thomasville. So as Alan mentioned, we've had massive support from Tifton, from Valdosta, from all of the towns around and in Southwest Georgia, where we're able to bring in technicians and bring in people to come onto our team. And so we do that both on the individual film side, and then we do that also on the corporate side as we're building out our team, and as we're hiring employees full time for the actual core team. We do that on the on a regular basis. I'll pause there for
Good. All right. Any questions from members of the committee, either virtually or present? Well, I've got one. Actually, I've got two. The first question is, could you talk about some of the films, or name a couple of the films? Have they gotten out to the market yet? Are they still being edited?
Sure, absolutely. So we have, as a company, we have a range of projects. I'll speak to the ones we filmed down here, and most recent in the last few weeks, we had a little film called The Tiger Rising, which was based on a children's book. So I say this is kind of a film for the elementary school, a fourth and fifth and sixth grader who loves literature. But it's called The Tiger Rising, and it's based on a children's book written by Kate DiCamillo. It's sold 20 million copies worldwide. People have read that story over the last 20 years. And we worked with Queen Latifah and Dennis Quaid on that, Catherine McPhee, a bunch of amazing talent. And so yeah, we that's one that just came out a couple of weeks ago. And then we have a slate. As Alan mentioned, we just really took a few years. There's a lot of logistics that go into turning the machine of production on. And it took a great partnership, both with Georgia, with the local community, with understanding how we can also protect the community and protect the communities around us while we bring in film without being a disruption in any way to the communities. And so as we were figuring that out, now we had a kind of an influx of production, and those productions will be coming out. So the first one that we did was called One Way, after the pandemic, that I was very proud of, that had Kevin Bacon, Travis Fimmel, and Colson Baker, a pop star, more relevantly known as Machine Gun Kelly, and on that project. That's the one that we brought back up right after. That was the first project we could make, following the 2022 shutdown.
Cool. Well, thank you. Well, we're going to have to move forward because we've got two more presenters and running out of time. But from what I understand, Thomasville has some excellent hunting plantations down there. And has any of the people that are participating in your projects been able to enjoy those facilities?
Absolutely. That was one thing we enjoyed sharing with people down here. And I mean, not all of them are interested in shooting a gun, but they love the woods. They love riding on a horse and, you know, watching birds fly and just kind of taking in something that's been a real part of the driving force behind the you know, ecosystem down here. They get a real kick out of that. Yeah.
Well, super. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your story.
Of course.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Next, Kelsey, would you introduce Craig Miller, please?
I sure will. Here's a man who may need no introduction. Craig has been an award-winning producer, director in Atlanta for more than 30 years. He's formerly was the chairman of the Governor's Commission on Film, Television, Digital Entertainment. And I'll just let Craig take it from there.
Thank you, Kelsey. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. So my company, now you're going to hear from a real small business, okay? My company, Craig Miller Productions, was formed in 1985. I grew up in Columbus, Georgia, went to University of Georgia, and came to Atlanta after that and opened my company here in town. One person, one account. We produce corporate and commercial video communications for a variety of clients, but mainly Fortune 500 companies. And we also had a real heart for tourism. Our very first account was Callaway Gardens. In the beginning, our productions would hire a film crew of about 5 to 10 professional freelancers to support the projects we were working on. And we would produce about 4 or 5 productions a month. But during that time, we also stayed very involved with the film industry. We liked working with the top end people on our productions, and we wanted to make sure that the quality showed through for our Fortune 500 companies and our tourism destinations. And so we hired the very best we could, although there were not as many of them to choose from back then as there are now. We were very involved in the Georgia Production Partnership, which is a grassroots group of about 900 companies and individuals that helped write the 2008, I always want to read this so I get it right, the Georgia Entertainment Industry Investment Act, which is our film tax credit. In 2017, Craig Miller Productions entered into the entertainment business. And while we are still producing now about 12 commercials a month, our corporate productions, with a staff of about 6 people, we are also producing feature films and TV pilots. This would not have been possible had we not had the incentive to bring a bigger workforce here to Georgia. And I did a little test last night. I sat down and I said, now how many other small business people am I just impacting with when I do a film production? And so I got my list going. There are restaurants, there are hotels, there are caterers, there are travel agents, there are talent agencies, real estate brokers that are both commercial and residential, car and truck and trailer rentals, painters, carpenters, electricians, lumber yards, hardware stores, HVAC companies, seamstress and costume rentals, insurance agencies, antique and prop rentals, furniture stores, equipment rental companies for lights, camera, and sound, policemen, garbage collection, security, and my minute ran out. So, so there are lots more, but that gives you a kind of an idea of who the industry hires past just Craig Miller Productions going out with a crew to produce a movie or to produce a corporate or a corporate or a tourism video. We have, and our crew size has changed. When we moved into the film industry, we started with a very small film. It was only a $300,000 production. And then following that, we were fortunate enough to, the next 3 films were all $2.5 million in 2.5 to 3 million in production. And we went from that size of 6, a crew of 6, all the way up to a crew of 75. Now, the interesting thing about us is we love our home roots, I guess. We shot 2 of those films, one in Harris County and one in Columbus, Georgia. And we hired people from the Georgia Film Academy, from Columbus State University. We used local caterers, restaurants. We had 14 locations, which we paid a fee for every day of usage. For that, Columbus doesn't have any permitting, so there is, unless you're going to close down a street. So it was a very camera-friendly place to be. And our most successful film has been a film called Only. It starred Leslie Odom Jr., who was Aaron Burr in Hamilton, and Frida Pinto, who was the lead in Slumdog Millionaire. Excuse me. And it was in the top 10 of Netflix for the entire month of July last year. Also, an interesting fact, we had our biggest year in our corporation in 2020. We did all of the production to get the film community back to work in Georgia. So in conjunction with the Board of Regents and the Georgia Film Academy, we produced a 10-part series that is now trained over 30,000 people to work in a COVID environment safely. And it's about 4 hours of material. From that project, if you take the remote education, you receive and answer a certain number of questions correctly, you receive a certification, and that certification is used across the industry to make sure that workers, as they walk onto the sets, know what the protocol is for working in Georgia. Finally, filmmaking is the industry that keeps on giving. So whereas you have people as Hannah Brothers was talking about, that they do their prep and they do their production and they do their post-production, filmmaking generates tourism, which is another love of ours. And you look at communities like Covington and Juliet and Savannah, they are the prime examples of great tourism attractions that bring people to those towns still today. Those towns known for fried green tomatoes and a number of other great films, are at the heart of those small towns tourism. And I did want to make one mention. I have shot 3 times at Douglas. So I like Douglas. I've worked with their tourism folks. I've worked with their economic development folks. They're great people down there. And they have one of the most incredible museums for flight and in their airport, where Tom Riley is restoring planes, that I've ever seen in my entire life. It's just awesome. And congratulations on that. What do we need? We need the continued support of the Georgia legislature to continue the Georgia Film Tax Credit. That is why all of this is happening. If it went away tomorrow, all of those wonderful stages at Trilith would become Chick-fil-A warehouses real quick. We need film-friendly communities. I don't know this, whether you know this or not, but in every county in the state of Georgia, there is a camera-ready designated person. And we need to continue to educate those people and make them aware of things that can help them attract projects to their particular area. Yes, some rural counties in Georgia are going to be more driven by location because they don't have stages and things like that to work on. But we are working diligently to move it around the state as much as we can and do the right thing for the people that are studying in school to then join our industry as Georgians and be a part of that. In addition, easy access and swift permitting processes in each community and local local incentives. Columbus has a local incentive. Savannah has a local incentive. Yes, they're giving away something to get something. They wouldn't have had to give me the incentive. I'd have gone to Columbus anyway. But but those little things that help make things work, an incentive might be that they've struck a deal, the local Convention and Visitors Bureau has struck a deal with the hotels to create a film rate so that productions will bring their projects to smaller places. What's really interesting, we're at a very rare place right now. Atlanta has sort of gotten educated about filmmaking. They know that people will pay money for locations and that they'll pay good money for catering and for all of those kind of things. The towns that are further out are still trying to attract these films. But we just completed a film in Columbus with Bo Bridges and Lee Bryce and in Harris County. And what we realized is because of the proximity to the Atlanta airport and because Columbus is inviting us to be there and encouraging us to be there, we could actually produce a film in Columbus with no incentive for less money than we could shoot it today in Atlanta. So it's really amazing and put everybody up because we have to get them a hotel room if we're more than 35 miles away from Atlanta. So it was a real eye opener for us. So towns like Macon, especially towns south of Atlanta, it's a real opportunity now because of this break that you can get just because they're wanting you more and are putting those incentives out to make that work. An educated workforce is always what we need. We like hiring Georgians, and we've educated people through the University of Georgia system, as well as through the Georgia Film Academy. This is a diverse group of people. 51% of the graduates of GFA are people of color. So that's an opportunity to get involved there. And finally, your support of House Bill 1053, which extends the post-production tax credit for 5 more years. We are just at the point where post-production is catching on in the state of Georgia. And that incentive really helps us to attract the best people in the country and to bring our people up through the system. We ran our company for 10 years. We never owned equipment. We always used rental houses for everything, including editorial. And in about 2000, it became so affordable to do your own video post-production. We bought some equipment. We had 1 editor. Well, now we have 8 edit bays in our office here in Atlanta, and we have 3 full-time staff, and we have 5 freelancers who work on projects to post-produce things here in Georgia. With this House Bill 1053, you don't have to shoot the project in Georgia. You just have to bring it here to do the work. And the more education and the more work and experience that we have, the better off we'll be. So thank you for your time here today. And do you have any questions?
We do, Mr. Miller, but in the interest of time, could you stay a little extra?
Sure, I'd love to.
And we'll talk to, and we'll go
Yes.
ahead and Miss Maria Stoll, could you go ahead and quickly introduce her before we run out of town? Cool.
I sure will. Maria Stoll is the owner of Gsb Architects, the firm who has done work kind of nationwide on film studios, including right here at home with the Tyler Perry Studios at Fort McPherson. And she's also launched a new venture at Pam Studios, where she is bringing some of these smaller studios to our more rural communities. So Maria, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Before I begin, I just want to introduce you to Amy Parrish. She's my CMO, and she will be doing the presentation for us after I tell you a little bit about my story. So my name is Maria Guerra Stoll. I'm the former chair of the Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and a former board member of your chamber. I'm president and CEO of an award. Okay. I am president and CEO of an award-winning architectural and interior design firm, and then also the president of Pam Studios, the first Latina-owned film studios in Georgia. And they're both located here in Atlanta. And we have our first satellite soundstage in Rome, Georgia. Before I start talking about myself, I want to thank Chairman Chokas for your support of all small businesses and your interest in this beautiful business of ours, the Georgia film industry. I hope that with building new infrastructure, creating more tax incentives, and with what we all at Pam Studios are trying to do and build, we can tie the education component and bring jobs and opportunities so we can keep a sustainable industry in our small towns here in our beautiful state. Remember, supporting the film industry means supporting thousands of Georgia businesses. So a little bit about GSB Architects. We were founded in 1998. As I said before, we are an award-winning architectural and interior design firm. We do work all over the United States, from all the way to Puerto Rico. And our services that we provide are design and construction administration of all building types, especially complex ones where we excel. We started out as the go-to architects for telecommunication buildings all over the nation, which are very complex, buildings that house computers and data centers. And together with the love of interior spaces and focusing on the customer's experience inside the buildings, we also became the go-to for the film entertainment industry. So how did I get here? Okay, so in 2007, I was on the board of Southern Poly University as the liaison between giving access to the Latino community to get scholarships for college through the Gozueta Foundation. And at that event, I met an alumni civil engineer who was working on Tyler Perry's first project on the old Eastern Airline campus. Remember that one? Well, he introduced us to Tyler. We were interviewed, and the rest is history. We collaborated in the design of the campus. We repurposed existing buildings and designed the very first sound stages. At that time, the codes did not have the building types in their books, and together with the team, we created an understanding of this use for the industry. So Tyler was thinking at that time to use metal buildings like some of the people do in the industry. So we suggested, because of the closeness of the buildings and the sound and the air conditioning needed, that he should try using precast concrete systems. And he still does today. So Tyler Perry Studios helped us showcase our talents and put Georgia on the map. And because of this, Georgia's growth as an entertainment hub has provided our firm with additional opportunities to work on high-profile industry leading projects in the state, and has helped us attract new clients from all over the nation. But before 2007, the industry was very small and rarely discussed in any marketing seminar or any economic forecasting summit we attended or even heard of. Now, entertainment is literally a phone call, an email, or a website inquiry every week for GSB Architects and Interiors. But due to NDAs, we cannot speak openly about projects in our productions, but I can say this: a full production studio is like a small city. There are offices, warehouses, dining facilities, operation facilities, and the sound stages. There's also production offices, hair and makeup, and dressing. The sound stages are the most purpose-built and the most expensive. Typically around 18,000 to 20,000 square feet in size, that's their sweet spot. They're column-free with clear heights of 40 feet and higher. They have intense acoustic performance criteria like STC requirements and NRC requirements. That means no sound coming in and no sound bouncing around in the interior. The electrical service is around 4,000 amps per stage or higher, and in cooling around 100 tons. Some have catwalks and perms, and some only pipe grids, but both which serve to support hanging equipment such as props, lighting, and other equipment. In our opinion, and we're certainly our bias, Tyler Perry Studios has the best studios in Georgia. And if you want to see what we have worked on, You can always go to YouTube and watch Architectural Digest inside Tyler Perry's 300-acre studios. I can proudly say we built 12 sound stages in record times, among others. I'm so proud of all what he has accomplished, and I'm always inspired by him, which leads me to my next segment, and it's Pam Studios. So I met Tyler Perry at the right moment as he was emerging, and I witnessed what he did for the industry. Okay. And in Georgia. So what do I do? In 2015, we started Pam Studios, a certified woman business with WeBank. Although Gsb Architects is also certified with NMSDC and with WeBank. So we opened Pam Studios to help our communities, changing stereotyping and providing good role models for all our current future children and filmmakers. As the industry grew here in Georgia, we noticed that there were more underrepresented communities besides the Latino community. The independent films were underrepresented also, for instance. So since independent film is underrepresented, here we go, we decide to sponsor Choose Georgia. Choose Georgia is an event the state of Georgia hosts at Sundance to bring talent and projects to Georgia so we can accelerate our independent films here while we're building our workforce. There, I met the president of Rome International Film Festival. And of course, International rang a bell for me because I am from South America. Well, he invited me to open for a Latino film at their film festival. And when I got there, I fell in love with Rome. Okay, so being an architect, I really saw so much potential with the historical buildings, the rivers, the bridges, the history, the natural backlots. It's gorgeous. I thought, why create a campus like we have done to so many of our clients all over the nation when we can actually have a campus right there in the backyard where businesses, existing ones that will be able to participate in the industry growth, they can benefit from our productions or any productions that instead of just passing by and spending a few dollars can actually engage in the community and everybody wins. So we decided to start our first satellite there. We bought our first building on Broad Street. Our first stage is there too. We're starting small because it's a proof of concept. We're working with Rome International Film Festival, the Georgia Highlands and some of the colleges, and also the Rome Chamber. But we need local incentives to attract crew and talent while we build the industry, what I say, homegrown in Rome. We are planning our ribbon cutting around mid-March and are starting to create our own source book together with the Rome Chamber. This is the proof of concept. Our vision is to locate these satellites in several small towns along the state to give access to the industry in our beautiful rural towns. Each one has its own character and beauty and bring growth to our communities, job creation, opportunity for students and rural towns and businesses. So Pam Studio is helping bring growth to rural communities that will impact our local revenue with jobs, opportunities, and more. So what's important? The importance of the tax incentives to businesses and industry growth is very crucial. The film tax incentives has created an infrastructure of businesses, both large and small, that have major non-incentivized investments in opening businesses and putting roots in the state. Adding tax incentives and keeping the incentives is key to the stability of the industry and for businesses like mine and the rural communities who are trying to grow their local film industry. I'd like to thank the committee for taking time to hear from the small businesses from Georgia film industry and for all y'all do to support us. And now I'll leave you with Amy and our presentation. And it's a quick one.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Stoll. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. If you could send Blake your presentation, we could distribute it to the members, but we've gained so much. I've got 1,000 questions. If y'all could stay a few more minutes, and then if any of the members present want to sit down and talk with y'all, that would be great. But unfortunately, we have to adjourn right now. A fantastic program. Kelsey, thank you very much. These are excellent representatives of the industry, and we appreciate all of y'all being here. And with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.